Of course, besides telling us how the waters were too deep, what was the experience?
Kibaale is rural. Like I always tell people, I'm a villager.
You're a village girl.
I'm a village girl.
Village belle.
Yes, I'm a village girl. I grew up from a real village in Kibaale. It is a rural area, and you know, with such areas, in most cases, you'll find education is low and what. So some of us just thank our parents for pushing us to school and all that. So they are so in that state that they believe in one thing. They believe in one person. I don't even want to just say Kibaale as Kibaale. It's basically my region.
Okay. The oil region.
The oil region, the oil city and what and everything. It's I was the first opposition candidate in my district, so you should know how tough that was, because predominantly they're NRM. So as the first opposition candidate, I come up and tell them this and this, try to inform them, awaken them and all that. So it wasn't an easy thing, but I sailed through. So basically it's predominantly the other part, and our poverty levels are still so high. We have so many kids who don't go to school. You know, if they give you 1,000 for soap, you'll take it, because the regime has managed to make you suffer and know that it's the only hand that can feed you. So basically, that is it. So when you come with your words, they are good, they will listen to them.
They will appreciate you.
They will appreciate, they will welcome them. They will be like, our girl, we've seen you grow and all that. But at the end of the day, there is a handouts. And trust me, you give a village person 1,000 or 2,000, they are very happy, and that alone will decide the vote.
Now, after going through that experience, yes, your community appreciates that, you know, we've supported our girl, Prosi, we've seen her through the ladders, you know, from blah, blah primary school, then she went to wherever she went, then at the university, she's now, an advocate. And so when they see their own coming back, I think that would be good news to them. Like, yes, maybe Prosi is an inspiration to these other young girls here. Maybe we should support her. Why do they have to always think so differently that they even forget their own children who would be inspired by the Prosi who went through the same struggle the way their children are doing and is now back to serve their community?
I'll talk about my district. We have big wigs. We have big people in our district.
You have small gods there.
Yes. I always call them small gods, and I never apologize for it. I always tell them these are small gods. We have them in our district, and in most cases they decide. They decide who wins and who doesn't win. And for you to win, in most cases, you have to be on their side. But I'm a young girl. Why would I be siding with old people who are regime apologists? You know? They do not care about us. They only care about themselves. And they will always bring up people, their own people. So it's well known in my district that if this person, there are about 3 people, they always choose who will win. They will always bring their own person, whether the person comes from the district or not. You know? Because I will say it loud, my woman MP doesn't come from my district. She's not a born of Kibaale at the end of the day. But because she had backup, she had her own people, those people who ruled the district.
And she has a constitutional protection.
yeah, she has a constitutional protection. That is okay. But she has these other regime people who are always around her. You know, they brought her, they said she'll win and all that. And it happened. You know, they decide for the district at the end of the day. And people will listen to them because they get money from somewhere and bring it and pour it into the people. So that is how it is for my district. And people have gotten used to it, by the way.
Now,
they'll be like, if someone is not supporting you, you're wasting time. And it's true.
Now, do you have plans of dismantling that status quo? Either you or as a community? Because I know it's not only you, there are many other people who reason like you in your own community.
Yes.
And much as they see things, being that you have those small gods, as you've referred to them, whom you think they're the influencers there. They're the people who influence decisions. If they call it ku andake dusu, you know. If they don't, then you're wasting time. I know there are those people who would wish to see that things change. Do you have strategies to dismantle that establishment of the sort?
You know, the challenge is we have those people who think like me, who think like other people. But the biggest problem is sellouts. In most cases, they'll come to you and give you money and you'll jump out. You know, the poverty levels are high, I need money, the economy is not doing bad. Someone comes and shows you some little money and then you'll take it. And for us who don't take it, we are still here, surviving. We've not died.
I know as a young advocate, is that right? Is that an insult?
It's not.
It's not, eh? Okay. As a young advocate, a young woman, you had, I want to believe you had a great agenda for your people, for Kibaale district, as a woman representative. But you find that most of the politicians, when they go to their communities trying to, you know, look for support and do that, many of the things they do share can actually be done even that particular person is not a member of parliament or is not into any political position. Mm. Yes?
Yes.
Have you, because I want to believe you went into this because you felt there is something you can do for your people. That goes beyond the incentives that are there and all that. But like, no, I can make a contribution to my community. Mm. I can change events in my district. You know, we can follow up and make things happen. And I believe as an advocate, you have equally good voice. So it could even go beyond. The only difference is that those in parliament, they have some privileges. But you equally have that voice and you can really, really air out concerns of the people. You can lobby for them. You can do so many things. Is there anything you've been able to do, or when Kalukaga and you're like, to hell with you guys?
I do what I can in my capacity, basically maybe free legal advice, pro bono services and that. Of course, when my person calls, I do that free of charge. Okay. I usually don't charge them. Maybe these small court
we need
things.
To print, we need to photocopy
yeah,
this.
those small things.
I need fuel to, you know.
Yeah, small things. But when it comes to legal services, that's okay. But again, the biggest challenge that I usually get when you try to come up with something, these gods will sabotage you because they want to be the only people visible in that area.
The small kings in the community.
You know, the small kings. They want to be the only kings, the deciders, you know. So every time you come up with something, they will be like, cut her off, sabotage you, and maybe you fail to do something for your people. That's how it happens.
There's so many other young people who have aspirations like you do. And of course the experience must have been for only Kibaale district, as you said, but we want to assume that a lot happens. Other than that, you've also played a central stage, you know, a central role in national politics. with the kind of people around you or the people you surround yourself with. I have personally seen you around people like Dr. Chiza Besigye. I've seen you on many public events like PFT and all that. And of course, in the second hour, you will also have to talk about the PFT agenda and see whether I know you have a transition manual, something like that.
The transition agenda.
The transition agenda as the PFT. We'll also tap into that and get to understand more of it. Now, but I want to, you've taken that platform. What are the challenges you go through as a female young politician? That is if you're comfortable to talk about it.
I am not.
You're not. Good. Thank you. Well, now, as an advocate, you've offered pro bono services. We've seen many activists, yes, falling into the hands of the security personnel, on whatever charges. And such things have come up. And we have not been able to support you into this direct activism, like we need this. You told me you've been part of those. Is it Prices Must Fall? How is that campaign called?
Bana Uganda, muzukuke twegatte.
Muzukuke twegatte, tulume, twetase. I've not seen you so actively being part of that.
I have.
Or you only wait for the arrests and then you...
I only don't wait for the arrests. I've actually been active behind closed doors and also in the open. I've been there.
Okay.
Maybe your cameras didn't capture me, but I've been there.
Next time we go, Jeremiah, make sure you zoom your cameras and...
You look for me.
You look for her. Well, for our viewers, I know there are many comments coming through and I need to check on some of the issues coming, the comments coming. And of course, in the second hour, I will also be opening up studio lines for those who would wish to, to be part of the discussion. Comments. Okay, I think people are just appreciating you here for, yes, let the comments flow. I will be able to read them. And of course, Kunihira, he's at our disposal tonight. We need to, as a young person, we know they also have a country they aspire. There is a Uganda they want to see. But the biggest question remains, how are we getting there? We all have dreams. It's like when we are growing up, like, I want to be like this. Many of us wanted to become lawyers. Along the way, like, I think I should do this, Then you find, these things happen. I am very sure maybe you could also have had another dream somehow, somewhere. Yeah. Like maybe I need to be this, or I don't know. But along the way you find things not working out as you thought they would be. And the transition agenda is a broader discussion. And when you look at each political grouping, they seem to be having a different agenda. One time I had Major General Mugisha Muntu here, and someone was asking that, why don't you join the way you've been saying? You fight together with one voice, and like, no. Actually, they were asking him why the ANT did not join the PFT. So he was like, no, let each person make their own contribution, their own lens. If the PFT believes in this, let them do that. If we believe in dialogues, let's do that. And now that whole thing, there is something you had recorded here. You talked about engaging the ruling regime, the regime actually. It's not even the regime. You said the president, Mr. Museveni, as you want to call him. He said there is need for this discussion to engage the two parties. I'm trying to recollect the words you used. Like we need the two parties together. And I had recorded dialogue, meaning that in such a conversation, when we have to interest all parties into this common, the discussion of transition, it means all parties must be interested in that conversation. And the question I wanted to ask is that, is this a conversation you can interest Mr. Museveni in to discuss the transition?
You know, when I was talking about transition, I told you to look at, you have to look at the regime you're dealing with, you know? You know, is it a dictatorship regime? Is it something, is it a different regime? Is it a regime that can agree to have a conversation? Because at the end of the day, how are you going to have a transitional government without the other party? It's not possible.
Okay.
You know? Because at the end of the day, we will have a transitional government, you'll have a transitional president, you'll have to agree that the transition takes this kind of years. You have to agree that maybe the president will not participate in the elections that will come out of the transitional government. So, if this other party is not engaged, how then will you have a transition?
I think we are trying to mix up things here. We are talking of a transition. We're also talking of peaceful transfer of power. Yes? No. I want us to draw a distinction here. Yes, one can lead to the other.
One can lead to the other.
But again, one can happen without the other.
The peaceful.
The peaceful.
Yes.
You know, the transition, you see in production, you see that money is, the money you're seeing there is good in that area. In production, there is what they call transition, that element that takes you to another, you know, something is just, it's a temporary, I don't know how to call element. Something
it's
comes in.
It's a temporary process.
Yes, just to
take you to something
lead
better.
You there and then
exactly.
It disappears.
Yes.
Now that is the transition.
That is the transition.
And now there is also the peaceful. This peaceful thing has been tried for 36 years. It has failed.
Tried through?
Yes, you've tried it as the opposition, 36 years. From 1986, you want to overthrow the regime, and the regime is like, we are as strong as anything you can ever imagine. You know? So that is now you thought, unlike taking the PRA direction and the UFF to have the NRA, you're like, no, let's try it through the ballot.
Yeah.
And that is now the peaceful way. And now the peaceful way has failed. So you now bring in the discussion over a transition. But before we get to the